Chapter 7. The Alternatives. The Jason Society agreed with the symposium conclusions and drafted 3 proposals for Eisenhower to mull over. These were Alternatives 1, 2 and 3. He rejected number 1 as it involved nuclear weapons, but he approved alternatives numbered 2 and 3, as did the Soviets. Alternative 2. In order to preserve the best of humanity, the Jason Society proposed that a vast network of underground cities be built in order to secure living quarters for the chosen Illuminati elite, high-level cooperative politicians and selected military. These cities are also cohabited by extraterrestrial alien groups that the secret government has made secret treaties with for technology exchange and human-alien hybrid breeding programs. More detail in my next book. In the 1950s and 60s, the American public was led to believe that the continuance of government, in the event of a worldwide nuclear war, was a logical reason for such underground facilities. But Ardachi says that the entire Soviet-American Cold War and mutual assured destruction, MAD, scenario was an orchestrated Illuminati deception to bleed both the Russian and US citizens of their wealth in order to finance black budget operations, secret technology developments, underground city construction, genetic engineering projects, time and space travel research and anti-gravity and flying saucer spacecraft development. The American public that were kept in the dark about the underground cities would have to fend for themselves on the surface in the potential event of a nuclear war. Ardachi says that based on 1989 intel, it was claimed that there are at least 75 underground cities below the soil of the United States interconnected by high-speed, frictionless trains called maglev trains, magnetic levitation. This makes sense to me that the world's richest economy has the most modern train system that could rival the Japanese or French train systems, only it is not common knowledge and therefore not usable by the American public. Ardachi says that the former Atomic Energy Commission had also constructed 22 separate underground cities for their own use. Stuart Swerdlow, who is known as the mind-controlled Montauk Boy, claimed that there are now 133 underground cities. Al Bielek claims that there are also many hundreds around the world. Alternative 3. Due to the access to certain alien technology, including interplanetary spaceflight, which became available to the US government as a result of the Greta Treaty that was signed by Eisenhower and aliens in 1954. The Jason Society proposed that bases should be set up on both the Moon and Mars, which would also provide a safe sanctuary for the highest of the elites if the self-destruction of Earth took place. These bases have been in operation since the late 1950s according to Ardachi. He also states that all 3 alternatives included recommendations for population control and included birth control, sterilization and the introduction of deadly microbes to reduce or slow the growth of the world's population. AIDS, Ebola, Gulf War illness, GWA, and many other new diseases were intentionally bioengineered in laboratories that are mostly found in the United States and include the Army's secretive facilities at featuring Detroit, Maryland. Bizarrely enough, one of my favorite films, 12 Monkeys, starring Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis, is based on a similar premise. Doctors Nancy and Garth Nicholson have researched the causes and treatment of Gulf War illness since they and their daughter, a chopper flight nurse in the 1991 Gulf War, came down with GWA. They published a paper which states their suspicions that GWA is due to engineered pathogens and that a hidden population control agenda appears to be in place. Ardachi says that some bioengineered pathogens were designed to target certain ethnic groups for elimination. These groups included blacks, Hispanics, Black Africans, Native Americans and homosexuals. The preferred Illuminati method to introduce disease is via vaccinations. Dr. Len Horowitz established in his book in 1995, Emerging Viruses, that the HIV virus which causes AIDS was introduced and spread throughout the majority of black populations in Africa via the World Health Organization, WHO, during their mandatory smallpox vaccine in the campaigns of 1976 to 1980. He also states that pathogens that produced Gulf War illness were introduced to a limited number of Gulf War troops via special vaccinations, not recorded on records, for anthrax and other supposed dangers posed by Saddam Hussein. It was a CIA test run to see how many of their troops would succumb to the disease and how quickly they might die off. Apparently the results were somewhat disappointing for the Illuminati planners, as they thought that the new little bugs would wipe out a lot more people, faster than it does. Ardachi thinks that eventually, the US military has to be eliminated because they are seen as a threat by Illuminati planners, as the plans are to dissolve the United States and incorporate the former United States into a new 10 region states of America, including both Canada and Mexico. This will not be in President Donald Trump's plans then, as he was hoping to build a wall along the US-Mexico border funded by Mexico during his election campaign in 2016. Joyce Riley, a retired Army flight nurse, presented a damning Department of Defense secret document to an audience at a Granada forum in Tarzana, California in July 1999. That supported the contention that the military intentionally inoculated Gulf War troops with the pathogens that eventually caused BUI as part of an insidious program directed by the CIA called MKUltra. Ardachi says that domestically, the strategy is to make the public believe that bio-attacks by foreign terrorists is inevitable, and when it happens the government will say that it tried to warn us all along. A similar tactic is being used by the government to acclimate the public to the notion that these new bugs are showing up everywhere: birds in New York, wild deer and antelope in national parks, etc., and that they are being spread by international travel. He also says that these are the same set of lies they used when AIDS started showing up in 1983 to 1985. Author Jim Mars concluded in his interesting book Our Occulted History that it seems clear that the leadership of the New World Order wants a good proportion of humanity dead. He says that when Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State, he directed the 1974 National Security Study Memorandum 200, which surveyed the world's population. This report, together with the Global 2000 report drafted during Jimmy Carter's administration and the royalty-sponsored Club of Rome study, all call for population reduction. Former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Maxwell Taylor, and CFR member, said in 1981 that he advocated population reduction through limited wars, disease and starvation. He said, "I have already written off more than 1 billion people. These people are in places in Africa, Asia and Latin America. We can't save them. The population crisis and the food supply question dictate that we should not even try. It's a waste of time."